Welcome back to the show today. We are talking about glue guys in the NBA. It's a term you hear a lot if you consume a lot of NBA content like I do. It usually gets thrown around in a couple different contexts though, in my opinion. But typically I hear it when someone wants to say that a player is doing a good job, but that player isn't a star player and maybe it's not showing up traditionally in the box score. Basically, a team has a really good game, but one of the starters has a weak stat line. Maybe like a 4-5-2, and rather than say that that player had a weak game or a quiet game, you'll say, wow, what an incredible glue guy. His value doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but if you watch the game, you know how valuable his presence was. Which may or may not be true, but more than likely, it just feels weird to praise an entire team and then point out one guy who didn't play very well. But it is true, the only way to really spot an actual glue guy is to watch the game itself, so you can see that impact on the floor. One very important aspect of being a glue guy is defensive pressure. Defensive pressure is the dirty work, especially off the ball pressure. Is a player gonna go hard and chase a guy around the court all night? Is he gonna follow every backdoor cut? Is he gonna yell out every time someone needs to switch? After the game, no one's gonna remember who did this stuff. I think the player who impacts the game the most in this way is Jaden McDaniels. In game 6 and 7 against Denver, Jaden McDaniels was everywhere, right? Putting pressure on the ball, cutting off passing lanes, double teaming. The Nuggets couldn't get into their offense because they couldn't even set the table. Guys couldn't even breathe. He works harder than any player on the court and he works smarter. Jokic was missing a lot of threes in game 7, and he knew his efforts were best spent leaving Jokic to shoot, protecting the lane and double teaming a guy on the perimeter. Once the Wolves kicked the pressure into high gear, the Nuggets looked scared. And on top of that, the good looks that they were getting weren't going in. And it all comes from guys like Jaden McDaniels mucking up Denver's offense. On top of that, Jaden McDaniels does not need the ball in his hands. He moves, he creates space, and he's shooting the 3-ball 50%. This is really important when it comes to being a good glue guy. You should be able to shoot the ball. If not from 3, at least get a decent mid-range shot. Because if you can't, not only are you missing the shots that you are taking, you're also costing the players on your team open shots. Because the defense leaves you open and puts more pressure on them. That brings me to my next glue guy, Naz Reid. Naz Reid has been shooting threes his entire NBA career. His rookie year, he was playing 16 minutes a game and he was still shooting over 3 threes a game. This guy may come off the bench, but he is dangerous on offense. He could be a starting center on any team in the NBA, including the Minnesota Timberwolves. He actually has a very similar bag to Karl Anthony Towns, so he can slot in for Cat or Rudy Gobert if one of them is injured or maybe their wife is having a baby or something. Naz does it all. The only reason he's coming off the bench is he's a little bit undersized. And as much as I'm glazing him right now, he cannot guard Embiid, man. I think this play right here by the Timberwolves sort of summarizes what glue guys do well.
Watching Jokic. Murray, Caldwell Pope, shot clock at 3, Porter at 3. Jokic the rebound, 3 defenders.
Rudy gets forced out to the perimeter, Michael Porter Jr. bricks it, Jokic gets the rebound and Edwards is on it. But then Reid and McDaniels come over to triple team him and they block the shot. Listen, I was rooting for Denver, but damn if that ain't some good team basketball right there. The next glue guy I want to talk about is TJ McConnell for the Indiana Pacers. TJ McConnell is hot right now and he is one of the hardest working dudes in the NBA and always has been. He's playing 19 minutes a game for a team in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, he's getting 11 points a game and 5 assists, but let's talk about the glue part of his game. McConnell's able to give the Pacers another facet of their offense. He's willing and able to get down the floor quickly and push the tempo. McConnell knows what he does well. He's willing to outwork guys and get those easy buckets. He's similar in my opinion to Jose Alvarado, who's short as hell, but figured out how to disrupt the game in his own way. He noticed that when guys are bringing the ball up the court, they're not expecting someone to come up from behind them. That adds a whole new element the offense has to think about. They're bringing the ball up the court, thinking about what play they're gonna run, checking out the front court, looking for a mismatch, and then they're on defense and they didn't even know it. Even when you see him kick it into high gear like that, it looks kind of weird, right? Nobody does that. Alvarado figured out how he was gonna impact the game by being creative, and also by just outworking everyone on an inbound play, which is also what McConnell has been doing for years. The status quo is to put a mild amount of pressure on the ball when inbounded, just enough to keep him honest and protect the lane. McConnell knows this, so that's what he pretends to do. But as soon as the inbounder begins his passing motion, TJ McConnell pounces on. TJ McConnell is an unlikely story. He's an undrafted guy that started his career with the Process 76ers, a team that went 10-72, one of the worst records of all time. Apparently, a lot of people in TJ's life were telling him not to pursue basketball, but he couldn't not do it. It was all he wanted to do. So he did everything he could to prove himself as a valuable asset to the 76ers. But in 2019, they let him walk, and he signed an incredibly cheap deal with the Indiana Pacers. And now he's killing it in the playoffs, and the Sixers are not. Glue guys find a way to fit in without being detrimental to their team. They understand that they are not conventional superstar scorers. They also understand that a team only really needs 1 or 2 of those guys. As a matter of fact, adding a ball-dominant star to a team that already has one is kind of redundant and doesn't work very well. One or the other is kind of lost if they don't have the ball in their hand. This is kind of what happened with Dame and Giannis this year. Dame didn't really have anything to do if Giannis was busy taking taking it to the rack. And Giannis was kind of rendered useless in a Dame driving kick play. Neither of these guys really have that much of an off-ball game because the ball has been in their hands most of their career. Glue guys are just as important to a team as the superstar players. Team sports are about working as a group and knowing your role. So while being a 40-point scorer is obviously the hardest role to fill, doesn't mean that you can put Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant on a team with a bunch of people that are on vet minimum contracts and say, hey, we're gonna win it all. You're not. Didn't work. It's a team sport, and the best teams are teams. That's why I really like the Minnesota Timberwolves this year. In January, Karl Anthony Towns said he wasn't gonna let his ego divide the team. And he hasn't. That team is getting it done however they're gonna get it done. They don't care who the star is. And you cannot find a post-game interview where Ant does not shout out a teammate by name.
This guy right here, he led us tonight. Like I told somebody before, everybody on our team is a leader, and he was the leader tonight. He stepped it up big time.
It's fun to watch, right? It's inspiring. It makes me want to be a part of something. So let's talk about the ultimate glue guy. The first time I ever heard the term glue guy, it was in reference to this player. And that player is Shane Battier, and most notably with the Miami Heat. You know, the team with LeBron, Bosh, and D-Wade. The thing is, the Heat didn't win a championship until Battier showed up. Shane Battier was a great player. He won a championship with Duke. He was a Final Four outstanding player. He was drafted 6th overall in 2001 and made 2 all-defensive teams. The thing is, Shane was not a big-time scorer. Wasn't his bag. He averaged 8.6 points per game for his career. Defense, effort, and IQ are what Shane Battier brought to the table. And I think most importantly, a willingness to serve. Battier grew up a biracial kid in Birmingham, Michigan. He always felt like an outsider, but he learned an important lesson at a very early age. Battier said, people like people who help them win. It doesn't matter if someone thinks you're goofy or nerdy or different. If you can help someone win at something, they will like you. Isn't that true of any context you might apply it to? Make yourself useful and you'll probably have a job. If you're providing value to whatever organization you're a part of, you're gonna stick around. And Battier was the player who guarded the other team's best player night in and night out, man. So the big three could chill a little bit and get their 20 to 30 points on the offensive end.
We all had egos. All right, so it wasn't like we were these meek, like little mice that are like, oh, we're happy to be here. No, we all like, hey, we want to win championships, but I'm gonna help us win a championship. We all lived it where we weren't on the floor.
Yes.
To go and home and like scream in your pillow, but like the cool part was again, it was competition, but it was like, hey man, stay with it, stay with it, we need you, we need you, and again, it's super rare. That's why we were one of the greatest teams in recent history.
So whatever group you're a part of, find a way to be of service to it, using whatever skill set you might have. And don't have a personality that sucks ass. Be good to be around. Battier was teammate of the year in 2014. He was the guy that planned all the team dinners and the events for the Heat to make sure that the team was bonded emotionally and looked out for each other. Chemistry like this is so important because it makes you want to play for each other. There's a special motivation you have when you want to accomplish something bigger than yourself. So serve your purpose, invest in your teammates, and you may achieve spiritual fulfillment. Alright, thank you for being here. If you liked the video, like the video. If you didn't like the video, dislike the video. This was a recommendation, so leave a recommendation in the comments. I always reply. Be good to your mothers. Eat a corn dog.